Ralph and Sherloque team up. Barry wakes up in Vegas, and we finally find out why Iris and Nora are beefing. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
I really loved this song as a kid. It was like a banger alert, for sure.
Yes.
It comes on at my bar a lot, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's a good time.
I enjoy it.
I enjoy it. What is up, guys? We're back for another episode of The Flash After Show Season 5, Episode 4. I'm your girl, Drew Jones, and I could not do this without my amazing team.
Hey, y'all, it's Chauncey K. Robinson.
What's going on, guys? It's Zach Silverman with you.
And shout out to our girl, Jamie. She's not here tonight, but she will be back with us when we come back in November.
The week after next.
Yeah,
Yes.
because there's not a show next week. So just
Remember
know
that.
that.
Go vote.
Yeah, go vote. Lord. Anyway, let's hop right into it because we have so much to talk about. We have Sherloque and Ralph are kind of like
Sherloque
are getting along. We finally found out what the Iris and Nora situation is because we have been waiting for that. And this new she's not even a meta. We find out about meta technology, which is kind of crazy. But we're going to talk about all of that. We're also going to talk about our baddie breakdown, which is where Zach breaks down the baddie of the episode. He's got a good one for you guys, so make sure to stay tuned. And as always, our girl Chauncey has so much gossip for us, so you already know what's good. Initial reactions to this episode.
Heart-wrenching. Iris was put through it. I felt for Iris.
Very, very character-driven episode. Top-notch acting.
Yes.
This was a very solid episode. I agree. And my heart hurt for Iris. I wanted to hug her. Everyone was trying her.
Except Barry. Everyone but Barry. Because Barry is number one husband, y'all. Where is the Barrys of the world? I'll just say.
This was such a West Allen. Zach wants everyone to know that he is a Barry Allen. He's a Barry Allen dressed like a Ralph. And it is okay.
That's like a Ralph.
Yeah, you give me Ralph vibes today.
You have the detective vibes.
Yeah. Not the stash, just
Oh.
just your aura is Ralph. But your heart is Barry. And that's
I will take that because I'm really enjoying Ralph and his whole
Yeah,
story
I
arc
really
so
am.
far, so thank you.
digging Ralph this
same.
episode.
Let's hop.
Most of the season.
Yeah, I'm actually really liking Ralph too. Let's talk about him and Sherloque kind of teaming. Sherloque.
Sherloque.
You
got it right.
I hate it. Sherloque. They team up this episode because Ralph has this great idea that if we can figure out why Cicada has this mask on, we can figure out who Cicada is. So what were you guys thinking when Ralph was kind of brainstorming? Because I'm starting to trust him a lot more than I did last season.
I thought he had a really good point. At first, I was kind of like, because I had the initial reaction that Sherloque did, where it was like he wears a mask to protect his identity, duh. But I guess Ralph had a whole science behind it, which is, I don't know. We haven't always had the science thing. It fell off for a little bit on The Flash. So it's cool that they're reinforcing the science aspect of things. And of all people, it's Ralph that does it. So I really like that they're playing up his detective skills a lot more than we haven't really seen elongated man except when he's in costume, but not in full action. It's been more Ralph the detective.
Yeah, the chat actually earlier before we went on was talking about how Ralph is one of the second best detectives in the DC universe, and they were kind of upset that CW was not showing that, and I think they finally are. We found who Ralph is. He's gotten more grounded as a character, and he's becoming who he is as a detective, which is great. I thought it was great how he went straight for the mask because he had a first encounter with him, and it's not just a standard mask that needs to cover your face. It looked more like a respiratory mask, and that was my first question when I saw it. I thought he kind of looked like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat or something, and why was the heavy breathing with Darth Vader-esque cicada noises? So I'm glad that they went for that, and they gave it to Ralph instead of Sherloque.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna lie, Elongated Man's kind of one of the cornier characters. I don't know, just his ability is kind of corny to me. I'm not a big fan of it, so I really like that they have him. It's a secondary thing for Ralph that's not essentially who Ralph is. Barry is the Flash, and like we're very heavily focused on him being the Flash, and like and then he's like he does everything else like secondary. I like that Ralph is a detective first, and then he's elongated man. If that makes sense.
Well, I'm really glad that they're doing this because I don't know if you guys remember last season when we were introduced to him. Most of the time, a lot of the time, the chat was going wild, and if you refer to the comic books, elongated man is like one of the most powerful metas in the DC universe. He's really up there, and so to have him in the show, it's kind of like a trump where, not to use that word, but it's kind of, he could do anything he really needed to. So I'm glad that they're focusing more on his detective skills as opposed to what kind of powers he would have towards any bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I like the detective thing. Him being stretchy is definitely probably all types of ways that he can, Fantastic Four it up, like the guy from, with the stretch thing. Mm-hmm. But I think it is a speedster world on the Flash for the most part, and those tend to be the cooler aspects. I don't think in general a speedster is the coolest kind of superhero, but in the Flash, there's something about the style of things because of the Flash that power just seems the coolest.
Yeah.
Maybe they just market it better or package it better. So the whole elongated man does sometimes stand out.
I agree. Maybe that's why I'm not like a super big fan of it, because it just doesn't like match up in the same way I feel like the speedster vibe matches up. And so I don't know, like I don't hate his powers. Obviously we know that he has potential to do a lot more. I just don't think on the Flash we're ever going to see that. And so since we're not going to see him hit that, I like that they focus on him being a detective.
Totally.
But they go to this factory where they find out that, a lot of people have this mask. It's not anything special. It's not super cool, whatever. But they figure out that Cicada is probably injured and that it probably happened on the night of the Enlightenment.
Well, we actually got to see the beginning of the episode, a flashback. Season's filled with those.
Yeah.
I feel like, which is cool. Flashback of Night of the Enlightenment. We got to see a different perspective that goes into the next character. But I'm glad that they keep going back to that, because I was a little tired of them being like prior seasons just referencing the combustion. What was it? The big thing that they're working in, Star Labs. What was that thing called? Help me out.
The accelerator.
Accelerator.
Yeah.
Thank you. The big accelerator.
I was trying to figure out what
I'm sorry.
I was like,
I was getting tired of we have a new meta because the accelerator flashback to that night. So this is like a new reference point to look back at and be excited about. What do you guys think about like a new, reference point?
I like it just because it gives us a new wave of metas, and it's a new way of trying to figure out how to
keep the story going almost, right?
Yeah, because essentially, I mean, after a while, we're the 5th season in, there's only so many metas you can go through from one particle accelerator before it's like, okay, how many?
Yeah, I mean, and we'll probably get into it in a bit, like the whole thing about the new angle of it, the meta tech or whatever. I think maybe after this season, we can just kind of, I don't know, do something else with, like, instead of just the whole thing of here's a new way of making metas, like, let's just deal with the metas
that have been made.
that we've been made instead of having this whole always, like, I don't know, reveal of how we got new metas. Like, I don't know.
You made a good point, though. I mean, the fact that, the fact that, I just blanked. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah. So anyway.
It
Go
was
ahead.
Spin who did it.
It
You
was
read a
Spin.
headline.
I read a
Zach
headline and
blanked.
it blanked me out.
So we before we hop into that, obviously I can see out of the corner of my eye you guys going crazy in the chat. We love hearing from you guys. We love talking to you all throughout the week. And Zach is going to break it down for you all about how you guys can continue to talk with us and how you can continue to get good content from us.
Yes, guys. We always appreciate and love it. So AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite TV shows, from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans. But we need your help. We are asking that you please subscribe to one or more of your YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that's tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about those pesky notifications, don't be, because they are optional. So hit your subscribe button now for this channel and check out other AfterBuzz YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we will thank you on air. For now, thanks for being the best fans, for helping us be the ESPN of TV talk.
Yes, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Always, you guys are always there to, give us the latest news, right as it's being reported so that we can talk about it on the show. You guys are always there to give us all the little tidbits. And speaking of someone who always is there with the latest news is our villain of the week, which is Spin, a.k.a.
Spencer.
Spencer, what's her last name? Spencer Young.
Spencer Young.
Spencer Young. And she is a millennial, clearly.
I resent that. I mean,
You know what's the
In all facets.
what's the
she
group
is.
under us? The younger ones, Gen Z.
we're out.
Is there a group below millennial?
Yeah, there
Yes.
is.
Oh.
There's another letter.
And they're the TikToks and the
Oh,
and
wow.
the Snapchats and the doohickeys because I'm 93 all of a sudden. But no, she is like a blogger. She has an app now. She's the first to report everything, and we see her in the beginning of the episode when we get a flashback to the night of the Enlightenment, and we see that she gets saved by XS. And that her phone gets cracked, and it's like, interesting. Wonder how that has anything to do with this episode. And then we find out that she has meta technology, basically, where she can control news headlines, or she can make her news headlines real.
Yeah, it's a hypnotic. It's a way of hypnotism. So if someone is reading the headline, it pertains to them. They kind of have to abide by it until it's done.
Yeah, which I'm not gonna lie, I think this is one of my favorite meta
Oh,
powers.
I dug it. I mean, the journalism angle. I always loved that with Iris. And then this particular one, the whole fake news, sad reference. But yeah, I thought it was really cool because it was, interesting because Iris like taking fake news to a whole new level. And here you have this girl where she does have a history with Iris, that she did work at, the other, Central City newspaper that that Iris did work at, but yeah, she was so fame hungry to the point where she wasn't fact checking. She wasn't about doing the right work of a journalist, which I liked. That in a way it was kind of a comparison with Iris because yes, she has a blog, which some people might think is lesser than a newspaper at this point, but it shows that Iris is a true journalist. Like she's someone who actually takes her job seriously, as opposed to Spin, who is more about like the National Enquirer kind of vibe.
Yeah. I really appreciate that The Flash takes on issues that kind of still reflect real time, but they do it in a fun kind of different way. And this was like a fun, just because it's there first doesn't mean it's true type thing.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows that is an issue that we face on the internet.
Yeah,
all the
exactly.
time.
Oh, it's funny because they initially started having ideas of what was going on, what was wrong, because they kept looking at the timestamps. So it just makes me wonder, is no one else looking at the timestamps of being like, wait, how did this person know about this news before 5 minutes of it happening kind of deal?
Well, I mean, we see that on the internet all the time where people will run with a story before it's even completely put together.
Share, click.
Yeah,
and it's just next
same
thing you know,
thing.
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
right?
like on Twitter.
I was gonna say hip hop fans know we just saw that happen with the Cardi B Nicki Minaj beef that went on Twitter the other day. It just people don't.
Cardi lied.
This is not the right show
Yes.
for it.
So, but I think, it's like the same thing with Twitter. Like people retweet something, they don't actually go to the news story.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Spin was leaning on in this idea.
They see a headline, they don't bother reading, they just choose to
Exactly.
repost. And I thought that was an interesting take that
Yeah.
the Flash chose to put on. Some of the things that she manages to do is she gets Officer Jones to bring a bomb to the baseball game where
Jonesy.
we saw Jonesy.
Hunk of the week.
Hunk of the week, for real.
That's not the segment.
It's my
It's not the
segment.
We're sorry, guys.
But he brings the bomb, and luckily XS is able to save it, and it's a whole big hoopla. Barry wakes up in Vegas, which been there, done that. Who hasn't? And then also she tries to get XS to kill the Flash,
Which was a little weird to me. Like, why did she escalate that quickly? Because it wasn't like, did I miss something? Like, she didn't think the Flash was onto her or something.
No, I think she wanted something that would get a lot of attention. What would be bigger than the Flash dying at the hands of?
But at the same time, wouldn't that make XS a villain? And wouldn't that mess with her clickbait?
I think
so
it's
a little weird.
not all press is good press.
probably.
approach.
Which also shows why she's a bad journalist.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like she wasn't even thinking about the longer term of how this would go in terms of the longevity of her story if she makes her main character a villain. So.
Yeah, so luckily we're able to, Iris pulls through.
Yes.
With-
Iris did a lot of emotional heavy lifting.
Iris did a lot of emotional heavy lifting. Sydney gets captured. We find out that it's her phone that's actually the meta and not Sydney. Side note, Nora and Sydney
We're flirting.
were flirting, and I'm here for it. I'm here for a little lady love. I'm not here for Sydney, but I'm here for Nora looking for a little lady love.
The CW is really pushing their scope of what they want to show everybody.
Yeah.
The Supergirl, I think it was 2 episodes ago, we just had a transgender girl come and like tell her about herself to one of the main characters, and I think it's great.
Yeah, it's dope. It's real. First of all, it's
real life,
realistic.
yeah.
I think it's 20% of the U.S. identifies as the LGBTQA community. So it only makes sense that we would have at least one LGBTQA member per cast because statistically that makes sense. And I'm not mad that it's Nora because it made me like her a little bit more because she is getting on my nerves because she's coming for Iris too much. She's coming too hard. We find out this episode that we find out why basically they've been fighting. It's because she put a dampener in Nora. And so Nora didn't find out that she could run real fast until 6 months ago.
Which is crazy because that means that she didn't have anyone to teach her any of her powers, and she had to go through this all on her own. Yeah, like I understand her frustrations even more because if at least her father was around, she would have him to teach him these things. But she grew up her whole life learning all these great things and how she felt something inside of her, but never realized that she had an inkling that she could do these things, but never realized why she wasn't able to. And to find that out, I would love to see how she found that out.
So who are we siding with on this? Like who?
I am siding with Iris.
I am
and Barry
too.
because United Front.
Well, it wasn't until that scene that
Yeah.
really made it powerful to want to side with them. But I think Iris throughout the seasons has always had a good reason for doing what she wanted to do, except when she was going to die from Savitar. And she just went off on like, oh, I'm going to die anyway. I could just do these things. Yeah. I side with them.
I was gonna say Iris has never been one to be like super irrational. She tends to be pretty. I feel like she did the dampener. Realistically, I think she did the dampener probably because Cicada was still hunting metas. Her daughter's a meta. She probably was trying to chill that out so it didn't bring any attention to her. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking at least.
No, yeah, the chat was talking about that as well. It was a good fan theory. I feel in line with that as well. I feel like with Barry gone and nobody ever being to stop him, that's the last thing she's going to want is to lose another one of her family members. So why not do something like that?
And I think it's also the idea that probably in the future there's a lot of superheroes around. Like Nora is all crying to her, and I don't know. I just felt like she acted so spoiled from this episode.
Yeah.
Like the whole
getting a cell phone,
throwing shade. Yeah, getting a cell phone, giving everyone her number, but like present Iris, just the idea of just being kind of disrespectful to an Iris that isn't your mother in the future. It's like you can't discern that's not the same, or even if it is the same person, like why do you have such intense like disrespect?
It's definitely very weird. I would kill to meet my mom at like a younger age and kind of figure out why she is the person she is. Like I feel like that's such a cool opportunity to have.
Exactly. And I felt like, Nora's crying to Iris about, you stopped me from being a hero. But the thing is, there's obviously plenty of heroes. Like we got a Justice League reference last episode. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of heroes. She didn't need to join the fight. What she wanted to do was emulate her father, and someone, whoever it was, told her about her powers. Probably someone who wanted to manipulate this whole situation or something like that. And now she has this huge grudge against Iris. And it's like, you're not even going to think about the fact that your mom might have been wanting to protect you.
Also, Barry disappeared when you were very little. I imagine she probably didn't want to bring attention to her meta infant child.
Yeah.
Because how is Iris, a non-meta, supposed to defend
and raise
a
baby running off?
Listen, man, if I saw a 3-year-old running as fast as Barry runs, I'm calling CPS. I'm not doing that. No, thank you.
It's just, she just really wasn't thinking logically, and that's been, and it's, actually it's not a total negative. It's not so much like I don't like the Nora character, because I do actually like her. it's interesting that they gave her this layer, because I would call it a character flaw, that she can't, a realistic character flaw, that she can't discern like the idea of what logically why Iris might have done something to her emotion, which maybe makes her a little bit more like Iris, because Iris does tend to go with her heart about things. And I was just really, really happy that we got a lot of domestic West Allen this episode. And I was so happy that they showed Barry's like complete devotion to Iris. And not just because, oh, she's my woman, but because it's like, I know Iris.
Yeah.
Like, I've known her since I was a kid. And I know if she did that, she had a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that was powerful to me. I love that part.
Amen. Zach, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say my only issue with everything about this, for a little while prior to this episode, I kind of was siding with Nora as to being like, maybe Iris did do something. Maybe something snapped in her after Barry went away, and she wasn't a good mom, but wasn't the best of moms, and she has an issue to a grudge against her. But just to tell us that 6 months ago she found out about this dampener. So what? Up until your whole life, you've had a decent relationship, probably a good relationship with your mother, and then you find out about this thing? Mm-hmm. So why in the 6 months, all of a sudden, you act as if your whole life you've been beaten by her?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like very spoiled. I like that Barry stood up for her, because I feel like Nora's put him on this pedestal of being like a hero. Like,
Yeah,
and so
in every
for him to be like, no, like, I trust your mom, because she obviously like probably did what was best. I felt like it was very bratty of Nora. And again, I like Nora. Mm-hmm. This is just the character flaw that like we're dealing with.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for her to like storm off and go to Grandpa Joe is like, which I think he's the one who told her.
Super bratty as well.
Dubs.
You think Joe was the one?
I think it was a subtle way of them being like by her showing up at Cecile and Joe's, I feel like it might have been a subtle way of saying like, he's the one who said something. Because listen, grandparents stay telling you family secrets that your parents may not necessarily want you to know.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Not like in a malicious way. It just like sometimes it comes up.
I mean, and we could probably get into predictions or whatever. I actually think someone did it to be malicious or something or whatever, to kind of manipulate her to do things or go back to the past. But it was one of those things where it was funny, because when she looked at Barry when he did it, when he said, I trust Iris, her whole face crumbled, because like you said, you make a great point that she had built him up to be, and in a way, since she had been there, I don't want to say pitting them against each other, but making it so it was like a juxtaposed kind of like, yeah, mom, anyway, hey, dad, and like really putting that like right in front of them. So for the both of them to be cited, I think I don't want to say it put in her place, since that's why she left, but it was like it needed to be done.
Yeah. Well, because it needed to be like, for a while, Barry's been like the cool dad and whatever, and it needed to be where it's like, okay, you can't keep like,
Yeah, you can't keep doing this to your mom.
You can't keep dragging your mom.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone has like a parent that, like, I'm a daddy's girl. So like, I remember like growing up, I'd be like, Dad, and he would like side with me, and then eventually he'd be like, okay, you need to like listen to your mom too. And I'd be like, ugh, okay.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love West Allen parenting. I love her attempting to cook and it being trash, and Barry
was like, this is
so good. And I was just like, I love it. I want more domestic West Allen moments.
Barry being a bad athlete and her still being like, babe, it's okay.
I find that hilarious, though. Is he trying to be a bad athlete just to not have his powers?
No, because they said growing up he was a horrible athlete too.
So I think
he's pretty coordinated now as a superhero. I would think.
His powers.
So not using his powers.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because he was a pretty bad fighter without his powers last episode with Cicada. So I guess that makes sense. It's kind of funny watching him. It's like the doofus and then the superhero.
I was gonna say, even when he was running out into the field like regular, I looked at them and I was like, he runs weird. Like when he's just
it was cute.
Normal, he just kind of like moseys on over.
Yeah.
We also find out, side note, that Cisco is
MIA this episode.
MIA. He's hanging out with his parents, trying to keep a low profile. Caitlin also wasn't very featured in this episode. We saw the only time we really got to see her was when she punched Sherloque.
It was a good punch.
It was a solid punch, girl.
She got a solid punch.
It was a solid punch. But I'm kind of not mad that I would rather them send people off for an episode and like give us a solid storyline than them try to like weirdly attempt to fit everyone in one episode. So like I wouldn't be mad if like, which it doesn't look like it, but say like next week hypothetically it was a more Caitlyn focused episode, but say like I don't know, like Nora and the Barry thing was like put on the back burner and it was more of a like I wouldn't be mad at that because at least we'd be getting them focused on someone and we'd get like a solid storyline.
Yeah, I mean I think this worked because what they did, and I really liked the Ralph and Sherloque team up because it was a B plot, but it was a B plot that worked a little bit smaller to work to the bigger plot line while the bigger plot line was happening in conjunction with that.
Right.
As opposed to last episode where we kind of had the subplot of Caitlyn's thing. And I don't know, sometimes there's a problem sometimes with subplots where they feel more like an afterthought. And I felt this one was just right enough that it worked without being like, oh yeah, here's plot B. I didn't get that vibe, so.
Yeah,
we didn't get vibe either. This episode.
I think it wasn't a plot B because it is going to evolve into the bigger arc of the whole season.
And I like that. I like it a lot more than let's have a fun campy plot B that like doesn't really have that much to do with anything, but it like keeps you entertained. Like I would rather us have something like this with Ralph and Sherloque where it eventually
it's useful.
Yeah, it comes around. Let's hop into our
before we get into anything, we didn't even get to mention the new power that was kind of shown off tonight.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
Okay. Nora, we got to see now not once but twice. She has some effect on reversing time. So we got to see initially in the last episode of season 4 how Barry ran up to this satellite and then almost hit it, and then all of a sudden he like reversed backwards. And I thought it was just something that the creators wanted to mess with us, I guess. I don't know. And then we got to see Nora come up, but we got the same exact thing happen again when they were fighting. Did any of you guys notice that?
No. I noticed him running backwards, but for some reason I thought that had to do with.
You thought it was like.
I thought it was
editing?
Sydney.
But you think it was Nora?
No, that's Nora. So Nora, it looks like, has some type of power where if you're in the right vicinity of her, she could affect time to reverse it and recorrect something. So I don't know if that is going to play into maybe her messing up the future more, or how the past now isn't reflecting how she remembers it to be.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. I don't know.
Well, yeah, with the whole thing with the punch to the satellite, it also could have been a thing where, I mean, they manipulate time. They do that. So, I mean, that could be a new power, or do you think it might be a thing where she went into Speed's Force and just made it so he came back to her?
I think it's kind of a new power where Barry can go back in time. Barry can go back in time and manipulate it. I think she now has a sub power of some sort where it's whatever's slightly around her is going back in time to reverse it quickly and then kind of fast forward and speed up into what it needs to, because they kind of just came right into each other.
Yeah, that's interesting if she knows how to do that, but she didn't know how to do like the little windmill.
She might be doing it
arms. Unconscious,
like subconsciously. She might not even realize she's doing it.
And then real quick, since we're on Nora, it made me think of something. At the end of the episode, Cicada is like stumbling into his house or whatever, and his like chest is glowing. Is that a power dampener too?
No.
What is that?
So that is going to be part of the satellite. I think it's shrapnel that hit him that is affecting him and giving him the powers, because the Thinker puts dark matter. No, not dark matter. Dark energy, dark energy into the satellite, and essentially we're going to be seeing a bunch of new metas and meta tech pop up from that. So I think in him is shrapnel that the Doctor probably wasn't able to get out, or she did get whatever piece. Ooh. His knife was the shrapnel that hit him, and there's probably little shards in it, and because it was taken out, he has a connection to it. That's why when he throws it, he could bring it back to him.
Yeah, that might exactly be it. Because he is a worker in terms of like, so he maybe that was one of his tools and he was fixing something, or in the factory when it all happened.
There's I have a picture. I'm not sure if we were able to bring it up, but somebody, when Cicada was first shown, we were able to show. Yeah, here we go. Okay, cool. Bring it on up. Somebody did a screen grab of it, and if you look on the hilt, and I mentioned this earlier,
it's broken off a little bit.
It's broken off, but it says to the right, says Star Labs. It looks like there's a Star Lab logo on it, which was the satellite, part of the satellite that exploded and went down. So that is probably something that was shrapnel in him that the doctor that we saw last episode pulled out, but he still has some in him that's providing powers, and that's why he's working in connection. It could like have a psychic kind of link
So
to it.
he squeezed that metal thing and like crushed it, and he was surprised by it. So do you think maybe the more he kills metas, somehow he's able to collect strength from them?
It looks like whatever's happening is spreading.
Yeah.
I think as he was in pain, that as the pain increased and whatever's I think either he's dying or something's like really affecting him or whatever. Maybe it's like that metal part, and it's making it so as his pain increases, so does his power. But at the same time, he's being hurt by it.
Gotcha.
That's what I think.
In the comic books, he kind of takes their powers, dampens it and takes their powers. So it could be a combination of both. I'm not sure who had Garter from the first episode had super strength, so it could be something along those lines. But I like your theory as well.
I hope it's not the same of like stealing powers, because we kind of dealt with that with the Thinker last season, so I don't really want to see that again.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But let's hop into our baddie comic breakdown. This is the part of the show where our boy Zach gives you a little tea about the episode's villain. Compares to the comic books, so take it away.
So tonight's villain, we had Spin, and her name, Kimberly Young, right, on the show. Interesting enough, and this isn't the first time CW has done this, we have a gender bender, where in the comic books, technically, Spin is a male, and they went and made a female out of it. Spin is really named Arbok. He's the son of a big media person who owned TV networks, including KN News, which Arbok wished he become a part of and became a journalist. So it's kind of cool that they kept in line with the whole journalist aspects with Kimberly. One of his stories is that he found a strange man named Edward Martinez. Now, Martinez, he can feel what a person fears and make it real. So what he did was essentially he kidnapped him and put him in the basement of KN Studios and hooked him up to all the cameras, and he pretty much broadcasted this fear-based thing so that he could control people, similar to how Kimberly Spin tonight in the episode did. So obviously we're gonna have very big deviations of the comic book to the actual character tonight. She didn't even have a costume; she just had her,
Regular clothes
with a cool little cell phone, but. Yeah, I kind of like that they do this sometimes. They don't necessarily stick to the script of saying, hey, it always has to be a male, or no, this has to be a female. Did you like Spin as a female tonight?
Yeah, she was like annoying, and
I didn't like her at all.
I like that she wasn't, she was like a different type of villain. Like she didn't have this huge vendetta, but she was just selfish and obnoxious and self-absorbed.
Yeah.
And I like that it was like different from the villains that we've had.
In the comics, Spin was actually able to manipulate enough people to hate the Flash that even Jay Garrick turned on him. So
not Jay Garrick.
I know, right? So that is our baddie breakdown for the episode. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed.
Very nice, Zachary. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Now let's hop into one of my favorite parts of the show, which is our news and gossip with our girl Chauncey.
News and gossip. Thank you. Okay, so star Chris Klein digs into the human side of his new baddie, Cicada. Man, I'm going to get this right before the end of the season, y'all. In a recent TV Insider interview, Chris Klein offers some insight on his character's moral inventory, the steps he might actually be taking to make amends for the past, and how the pieces start coming together in this week's episode. Chris Klein, he said, he is deriving his power from the implement that he wields, the dagger that allows him to dampen metahuman powers, thereby making them almost equal. And then he goes ahead and has his way with them. He's really a street brawler at heart, and you see that in the vicious attacks and the fights. A lot of times it's with his fist that he's doing most of his damage and not with the dagger. He also says he's torn into Team Flash pretty darn good from the get-go, so he really has them on their heels as we get into the next couple episodes. He says we're going to learn as the season goes on who that little girl that his character sat next to in the hospital bed is, why she's in the hospital bed, and why Orlin, I guess his name, cares so much. The tease there is that she is an integral part of our story moving forward and someone to keep an eye on. We do have some very, very cool things coming up where we're going to get to learn a whole lot about him, why he is Cicada, and why he is doing what he is doing. So that's a lot to look forward to with him. And I guess he kind of revealed that his name is Orland Dwyer.
I think
he was saying that was in the interview.
I think I remember. Didn't last episode we hear that his name was Orland?
Yeah. Somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think the doctor told it. The doctor said it.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
said Orland. Yeah. Also, The Flash 100th episode brings back Barry Allen's past villains. So the scoop is that it's looking like Barry Allen will have his hands full this season, as many of the show's old villains will be returning for The Flash's 100th episode.
Oh.
Season 5's 8th episode and this show's 100th will have numerous characters from the Flash's past making an appearance. DC World reported on an interview that they had with actor and Candyman horror legend Tony Todd, the voice of Flash's villain Zoom. Todd revealed he had finished filming for the show's 100th episode. When asked about playing Zoom, Todd said, "They are all returning, all speedster villains, and they all want a piece of Barry." Ooh. Fans will have to wait until December 4th to see the 100th episode, but it looks like it's going to be an intense one. I'm excited,
That's
y'all.
exciting. I would love to see Zoom and Reverse Flash come back.
And finally, I'm just going to go to our last news and gossip, which deals with Mark Hamill as he shares a throwback photo of original Flash TV star and trickster. He shares a throwback photo of our original Flash, John Wesley Shipp. In the Twitter post, he says he was halfway back into his street clothes. He could have been on his way home. Instead, John Wesley Shipp took the time to pose with my kids and be a real life hero. Not just a wonderful actor, a wonderful person. Aww.
That's cool.
That.
He was actually on the old Flash.
Yeah, he was a trickster.
He was. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I never watched the old one.
Yeah,
That's
he's
cool.
actually on one of the episodes, I think, last season. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We stan. We love it.
So that's your news and gossip.
Well, before we have to say goodbye to you lovely people, I don't know why my alarm went off, but that's fine. We are going to hop into predictions.
Yes, the Speed Force.
Oh, yes. Bringing back the Speed Force.
Here you go, Zach.
The alarm was actually to remind me to make Halloween treats for tomorrow.
Yes. So, I am going. Does it have to be predictions just for tomorrow or next week?
Whatever
Or
you
for
want.
2 weeks?
Do what's in your heart.
I feel like Reverse Flash is going to have a bigger play in a lot of this season. Something about him, because he does not die. He pops up throughout time. Yeah, he might be dead in this timeline right now. I think we might have a Reverse Flash in Nora's timeline that might be influencing her and kind of telling her about her powers without her kind of knowing who he might be.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he could pop up. I mean, just the fact that your news was talking about it, I think he's always devious and has these plans. So I feel like something where he would come into play. I mean, because how else would Nora know, to do a lot of things that she's doing? So,
Okay.
Reverse Flash.
I think in that same vein that Nora's being manipulated somehow goes back to what Sherloque had questioned her about last episode of, like, how did you know to kind of do the whole thing with the satellite? So I think she's being manipulated, and it makes sense given her character that we saw this episode that she's kind of immature. So maybe she's easily kind of, her emotions are easily, and I think the next episode coming up is going to be one of my faves because it looks scary.
It looks so creepy.
Oh my gosh,
Oh my
I'm
God.
excited.
It freaked me out. I don't know if this is a prediction, but I'm very curious to know where Cecile and Joe's, what their baby
Where the
is up
baby
to.
is.
One, what the baby is in present time, but two, what the baby's up to in Nora's time, because I think she might be a metahuman, or it seems like it because of
The powers.
yeah.
Cecile's powers,
So I would be interested to see if she's a goodie or a baddie, what's going on over there. And part of me kind of is starting to wonder if I don't know if I think the little girl's Cicada's daughter anymore. I'm thinking maybe he somehow had a part in hurting her and now feels like this internal guilt and is like trying to work off his like
I like that.
bad karma. But I don't know. You guys in the comments let us know what you think is going to happen for the next episode, for the rest of the season. Until then, my name is Drew Jones. You guys can follow me on all the things at OKDrewJ.
And you can find me on Twitter at Miss Chauncey KR and also on the Rotten Tomatoes site as I am official film TV critic.
And guys, my name is Zach Silverman. You can find me all across social media at Zach with CH Silverman 2, and on Sundays for Supergirl at 10 o'clock.
Oh, and if you're a Black Lightning fan, we're actually going to be airing 9 p.m. tomorrow night instead of our normal 10 p.m. So we'll see you guys there.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.